All right, I'm now live. Okay, get that off there. Okay, Man of Steel. When I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh, 2012," but it's supposed to come out 2012. Didn't come out 2013, and no tights. The fact that they didn't really, they called him Superman once in Man of Steel. Yes, Superman. Like they almost embarrassed that the fact that this is a comic book. This is the granddaddy of the superhero. This is, even though he borrowed a lot from uh, the Man of Bronze, Doc Savage, who had his own Fortress of Solitude. Man of Bronze, Man of Steel. Close, very close. But with Man of Steel, I saw it in the theaters, and I loved it. I loved it for what it was. It wasn't a straight up superhero story. It was in a way, but it, you know it it didn't fit expectations. It didn't have the, oh, he's got to save the cat from the tree. He's got to stop the, the corner store from getting robbed. Oh, he's got to lift. Oh, Lois Lane's falling. He's got to grab her. It does do that in a movie, but it's much more action oriented. For someone who didn't grow up on Dragon Ball Z, I didn't watch it till later in life, and then I got burned out on it really quick because it's this very similar stuff over Dragon Ball. I prefer more than that. Doctor Slump even more than that, but seeing Kryptonians actually fight and combat people, doing multi-combo breakers and ripping people apart. This is what they would do. This is what warriors would do if they were challenged. But in doing so, you have a lot of people that take issue with the fact that, yes, Clark, because he's not really Superman yet. He's Superman, but he's not the Superman we know. This isn't the Superman of the comics where, oh no, the people, I have to draw them away from the city. This where the biggest action sequence in Superman 2 is throwing a Marlboro truck. That is not, and oh yeah, oh, Superman doesn't kill. Well, he not only he powers Zod, Ursa, and Non, he tricks him into thinking, oh, he's kneeling before Zod, and he crushes Zod's hand. That's a sign of a psycho. Crushes Zod's hand, picks him up by the crotch, and throws him into a bottomless pit, the Fortress of Solitude. Non, being the dumb, brain dead guy he is, like lobotomized guy, tries to fly, falls into the pit. Lois punches Ursa, knocks her into the pit, killing her. These people died. No matter which version you watch, whether you watch the Richard Lester kind of abomination with the cellophane S or the Richard Donner cut, they still die. Oh, Superman, oh, that's different. It's, the Tim Burton Batman. It's more Golden Age, where he's killing people, or at least not saving them. But not have to be explicit, like, I don't have to save you. I ain't gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you either. Batman Begins style. Which, like, well, Batman doesn't kill. Oh, that's a later added addition. Superman used to be a real dick, but Clark is a guy. This is not a Superman that has been battling Mongol or Brainiac and Parasite and Doomsday, even though which is the biggest letdown of of Justice League. The fact that Superman didn't come back with a mullet. I wanted the mullet, the black suit. Kryptonian healing coma just gives you a mullet, makes you look like Billy Ray Cyrus, but we were denied. Or Renegade. Early 90s reference for anyone catching on. But in doing so, making him this guy who is not a straight up hero. This is not a guy he's been doing good acts along the way. He's like very, very similar when you meet him as the working on the trawler, I guess the lobster trawler, out there in the Alaskan waters. That guy's more like Bruce Banner from the Incredible Hulk show, not Clark Kent. He's doing a report about lobster fishermen. You get, it's an origin story for Krypton, but not necessarily for Clark. But you get it is origin enough where you see him doing these things, going from town to town. That he can't physically fight someone because he would kill him. Like the sequence where he's being picked on, and it's like his father's like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah." When Jonathan Kent's like, he's not asking is he physically okay. Of course he is, but emotionally, he's like I wanted to hit him, and it's like, yeah, but then what? What are you going to do? It's the whole, well, Pa Kent saying it's okay to let kids die. It's like you have to think before you act. Hey, You saved a bunch of kids in front of a bunch of strangers who's going to tell everybody. The people of Smallville know Clark can do what he does. That's one thing I liked about it. Small towns can keep their secrets. Sometimes that's for good. A lot of time it's not. But the fact that Smallville kept their secret, that Pete Ross and a bunch of other people were saved by Clark, maybe they thought it was divine, gifts. God had smiled down upon the people of Smallville to save these folks. But they kept their mouth shut until reporters started nosing around like Lois, but nobody knew about it. So nobody I guess you could talk to Clark. And so, that's basically what happens. And in the Superman, with the Superman mythos, with him being, you have the Birthright, the Mark Waid stuff. You have the John Byrne, the Man of Steel, the Golden Age stuff where he was, he was a man for social justice and social change at the time. Like taking mine owners to task, preventing, and we're not talking true, justice on a social level, against wrongly convicted people on death row. He's going to prevent that from happening, prevent death, like innocence from dying. I think he does knock someone out with drugs and imitates them on the football field, and eventually to stop a racketeering gang, or a gang that's betting against the sports betting, and eventually the guy who knocked out, who Superman knocked out, the team hates him, and his enemy, the opposing team hates him as well. So when he finally the drugs wear off, he goes back on the field. Both sides kick his ass, which is very weird. But the Golden Age Superman comics, the Golden Age Batman and Wonder Woman are all weird and strange, and I love them for it. But back to Man of Steel, the idea that this is a guy who has never physically fought someone because he can't, because he would kill them, he would pop them like a water balloon. So he's got that. So when that truck driver is like harassing the waitress, then he bounces the can off his head. And he's like, he gets Clark all pissed off, and Clark just has to walk away, because if he doesn't, he's gonna break the guy's neck or obliterate him. So it goes out and ruins his truck, which probably the guy he was not probably an owner operator. He was probably working for a company. So owner operators, they own the truck and they operate the truck for a company, but he probably was just operating the truck for that company, didn't own it. And with the logs going through the semi truck, the cab, and all jacked up. Good luck explaining that to your insurance or to the company. They're like, what did you do? But he's a guy that helps people. That right there, it shows him helping people and going above and beyond. Like he could easily walk away. Like, why bother helping? But he helps. He realizes you help someone, you can't just stay there and like you bask in the glory, and people want to start asking questions. He can't let that happen. Start asking questions that puts those he loves, and which is only like Ma Kent at this point, in jeopardy. The biggest issue, other than the Jonathan Kent, wish to let him die. It's like, yeah, maybe. It's like the idea behind that was, okay, you save these people. The government finds out. What are you going to do then? You want to fight the government? They're going to tear you apart to figure out how you work. Oh, even if you're nice about it and like, oh, I'm just trying to help people. We don't know what your motives are. People are very just untrustworthy, and like the idea of the best of humanity. Humanity is a horrible, horrible thing at times. And this is the idea that he could be a god among them. It's like, well, we piss him off, he might come after us and start, King Superman, which is like a Golden Age story, or, the evil Superman, as you see in Dawn of Justice, which, of course, they just, whatever. It's like they just put that in there for some reason. Like, hey, let's put something that looks like Mad Max in there. But with Superman not having the training, like he didn't even fly until like maybe like a month before Zod and the crew showed up in the Black Zero. And this is a guy who's never had to fight someone. He's going to fight his robot servants at the Fortress of Solitude. It's like, the closest thing to a fight he said anything with a fight was when he fought the Kryptonian drone, that the one that lashes Lois, like gives her internal injuries. That's the closest thing he's had to fight anything in his entire life. And so he's going to have to fight combat-trained Kryptonian military. And it boggles the mind to see people like, well, why, why doesn't he just drag him out? if I'm fighting someone, it's a street brawl. I'm not gonna think, oh, I better get off the streets. Like, no, I gotta win or get out. I either gotta get out of here or I gotta win. Especially the person's trying to kill me. This is not a. It's like you kill me or I kill them. So it's like this isn't a choice because if you're Kryptonian, you're not going to program your military caste to be able to self-terminate. They protect the planet. They are not supposed to protect the legal system, and that's why there was a coup. Because if that was in their genes, they're there to protect the planet from internal and external threats, and that's why they were doing the coup and killing the council members and dissolving the council because they are there to protect it. So when the Black Zero was swallowed up into the Phantom Zone with the Jor-El's rocket, Jor-El's ship, and Zod has nothing left except he wants to die, but he can't because he can't kill himself. Maybe he wants to. That's a part of him. Like, imagine you want to do something and not have the ability to. It's like a itch you can't scratch. And so he's still a bad guy. This guy's, he takes somewhat pleasure in what he does. Maybe that's part of his programming. He's just, oh, you feel bad for him. Don't feel bad for him. He'll kill you. He has no problem. If you stand in his way, he will kill you. He will end you. And that's one of those aspects of Man of Steel. I really like the fact of like, yeah, Clark, yeah, is he the best hero he could be? No, but he's more human, definitely more human than Superman Returns. Superman Returns has like one action sequence, and that was with the he lifts two things in the movie. He slowly glides down a jumbo jet, and then he lifts a continent and throws it into space. Which I'm thinking he didn't throw it that far, and he was getting weak. That's like a continent of kryptonite. That thing's going to eventually burst in the atmosphere and cause kryptonite rain or something. And then of course they had to pull the Superman lives, Superman's dead. The death of Superman. Like, yeah, you're going to bring back the franchise just to kill it off, which basically they did. Turn him into a creep and gave him the blue contact lens. Now we know about Bryan Singer, so that makes a lot of sense. It's Brandon Routh. He needed to pack on a lot more muscle or definitely more weight because he was too thin. He looked like anorexic Superman. Kate Bosworth was too young looking, giant. Like, yeah, she had a 5 head, and James Marsden was the only good thing about that film. He was like the only real hero in the movie, Perry White's nephew or whatever. But I say Walter White, but that's not the right name. But Man of Steel has a lot of hatred because not only because of the visuals. Like people say, "Oh, it's so dark." I'm like, not really. No, I mean, I didn't see it as that dark. It isn't, muted. Maybe, perhaps, but it didn't. Like, honestly, I thought the suit was kind of shiny, a little too shiny for my liking at times. But yes, the fact that there's no tights, no shorts, like, that makes no sense. Like, it's a guy who flies. It doesn't make no sense. Of course, just go with it. If Christopher Reeve can make it work in the 70s, like, yeah, we'll say, it's because of cocaine. But it worked then. It worked on TV. It's worked. But, we got to be serious. I have a feeling that's probably more Nolan than Snyder, but probably a mix of the both. Because I think Nolan's like embarrassed with the comic book stuff. It's like he just, everybody loves his Batman films. Like, I'm not a fan. But I like elements at times, but overall, like if I had a thumbs up, thumbs down, I'd give a thumbs down for all three. But I know sacrilegious, but there are things with Man of Steel where this is very much like what would happen in the real world. People would be like, "Oh, aliens show up and say we want one of our own, give them up, or we're gonna just okay, there you go with them. We're gonna arrest you, even though like there's nothing we could really do. It's like turn yourself in. Like you could." Turn us into paste, but then you prove us right. And I like that. I like the fact that he's in this, like one of the first images they put out with Superman in handcuffs with the military and Detective Stabler from Law and Order SVU. Like, hey, Christopher Maloney, how nice. But there are, there's something about like Superman, this version of Superman, which, if you like any of these Superman comics, there's been tons of variations from the Golden Age, Silver Age to the modern stuff to, from variations. Like also, like Elseworld stories. And I consider like But you can get behind those stories, but you can't get behind this. Like, you can watch Lois and Clark and like that, or the old George Reeves Superman or the Christopher Reeve Superman, and you can watch that, enjoy it. And the Superman animated series, which they threw them in spacesuits, so they can sell the spacesuit toy with little rocket ship toy, all that stuff. But you can enjoy that. But this version of this is a guy who deep down just wants to help people. He's like, he's like, I'm from Kansas. I just want to help people. Stop following me around with your predator drones. I could track them. And it's like, just leave me be. Let me just help people. And it's like, I don't want to owe anybody anything. It's like, I want to help the world. I just want to help one or two areas. And another thing people bring up, I talking about Man of Steel, but Dawn of Justice, which there should have been a Man of Steel too, but they wanted to, we got to start building up. They should have just done a Justice League film, and not this kind of building towards the Justice League film. If you could do the way my reasoning is, if you could do the Justice League TV series, which was like the first 2 episodes, actually first 3, would be about what? Is it 2 or 3? The Starcross, I believe it was. The one that's the origin, the Justice League origin, with Martian Manhunter, Hawk Girl, and everything. You could just have these characters in there and had character moments and then build into it. But, I don't know. People say, oh, you have to do it the other way. The Marvel way, the reason Marvel did it the way they did, because nobody knew or cared about Captain America or Iron Man or Thor. None of these characters, no one cared about. Probably the biggest person Marvel had at the time was the Hulk. And that Edward Norton Hulk movie was not good. The Hulk looked horrible. It actually looked worse than the Ang Lee Hulk. I actually like the Ang Lee Hulk looked more, he looked jade, not this kind of dirty green, like he'd been living in a sewer. Made him look like a green tinted Solomon Grundy in the Incredible Hulk movie. And then, of course, they waste Abomination. Hey, we're making the leader. Oh, nope, never mind. No leader. Decade later, no leader. No Masters of Evil, nothing like, no, let's go with Thanos. Let's go cosmic. Brilliant idea. But with the Justice League, you just throw them in there because people know these characters. People know Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. People know the Flash. Hell, people know Green Arrow. For the love of God, people know Green Arrow, which is kind of weird. Steel. You could have made people buy into this. You should have gone more that route. Not Cyborg, most bland. Milk Toast the character. Look up Milk Toast in a dictionary. Cyborg is right next to it. But Dawn of Justice, you had Superman, like all the scenes, Superman saving the girl from the burning building, Superman towing the overturned ship with the news reports and everything. That right there, if you've ever seen the movie Passion of the Christ, the Scorsese film, very controversial film, time people like theaters got bomb threats and everything. People were pretty hardcore against the film. It's not that the biggest sacrilege of the film is the fact that Jesus gets off the cross, contemplates not dying for man's sins, taking the easy way out. It's like, I don't have to die for man's sins. What do I do? And then, like, I can have a family, I have kids. He's like, but that's not who I am. I got to go back on the cross. He gets back up on the cross. He dies for man's sins. So the part in the movie of Passion of the Christ where he hears the pains and the prayers and the suffering and agony of people. Now, we see in Man of Steel, young Clark having to filter out all this noise and having to see skeletons and the way hearts beating. I mean, that freaks you out. It's like living in a horror film. And even though he can control that to a degree, you have to focus on that. And in the comics, like, oh, he can focus. He's so focused on this, and like, it makes him, to me, too inhuman. I'm more of a Fleischer Superman. I'm like more of the Golden Age Superman, where like a big old howitzer it'd slow him down. Lightning, electricity, stuff like that could weaken him, but not, like where he's towing planets with chains. It's just yeah, that's okay for a variant Superman, but not the Superman. My Superman is that where he has the vulnerabilities, where he can be hurt or weakened or slowed down, and not just they did make him a little too OP. He survives a nuke and stabbing in the heart in Dawn of Justice, but the aspect where he's pulling the boat and he's saving the kid, and he has like the dour look, having to probably hear and feel, and like people looking at like, oh, you're a savior. It's like, no, I'm just trying to help people. I have powers. I'm trying to help people, but having to hear that suffering, and like, imagine you're trying to sleep. Let's say he sleeps maybe like half hour a night. Let's say something like that. Whatever Kryptonian sleep, if at all. And having, before you go to sleep at night, as you're going to sleep, you're starting to your focus on the, keeping certain sounds out, like focusing on like maybe your own heartbeat or something, and hearing, a kid crying, hearing a guy beat his wife, hearing horrible, horrible things, and realizing I could go out there and I could stop this from happening at this moment, but it won't stop the cycle. And I'll just stop it at this moment. It's going to be a stopgap. I'm like, they're going to look at me as like, how dare you alien creature? Because, people know he's alien. It's like, how dare you, alien creature, tell me how to not beat my wife? It's like, what's going on here? And in a way, being a hero would suck, especially a selfless hero. You can be a booster gold, like you're going for the gold, going for the credit, the glamour, the love. But most things, heroes don't get that. Heroes don't have that. They do it because it's the right thing to do, most of them, or they're mentally unhinged, like Batman. Which, Dawn of Justice, again, Martha, why'd you say that name? If you have someone die close to you, especially have a name, like say someone dies that you loved and maybe saw them, whatever, something horrific happened to them, whether it be shot to death in Crime Alley or, die of a disease slowly. And so, especially if somebody mentions that name, there's a party that twinges. So imagine, I could imagine that, what, that makes some sense. The whole Martha thing, and yeah, it could be funny, but I still can make sense of it. Yeah, maybe I'm just, you're being an apologist for Dawn of Justice. Like, yeah, the Ultimate Edition, the director's cut, is better than the theatrical cut, but that's the way it is. But yeah, Gal Gadot, and hopefully whatever happens, I know last time I checked, there was some Henry Cavill had like a Team Krypton shirt or something talking about how like how he hasn't said, he's leaving. So it's like, what's going on here? It's like, conspiracy theory is maybe Warner Brothers is like thinking of getting rid of him. They're like, let's put it out there, see how people react. If people are positive towards like, hey, let's keep them, we'll keep them. If they're like, let's get rid of them, because Ben Affleck seems like to be miserable, doesn't want to be there, get somebody else then. Just get, hell, get Josh Brolin, like you were initially. Honestly, Josh Brolin would be a good fit. He's Thanos, he's Cable, he can be Batman too. Get the guy a break. He's got the build for it. And get Josh Brolin. Oh man, that'd be kind of good. That'd be kind of good right there. I like that. But I think he's actually the number 2 choice after Ben Affleck. I guess they thought we get Ben Affleck, we get a director as well, and then he's like, drink, which is funny because he was in that movie Hollywoodland where he played George Reeves. And where he's like, before Superman's supposed to jump out in front of some kids, he's just knocking back, I think like liquor, like whiskey, and then he jumps out, hey kids, that kind of stuff, which has Diane Lane in it. Plays like his lover. So there you go. She's Martha, Martha Kent. So if Henry Cavill's done, like they come out like a couple days later, say he's done or whatever. That it sucked, but we still got Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot. I think it's not Godot, but Gadot actually, because it's Israeli. But was it Gail Gadot? Who knows? At this point, I just love what she does. I Wonder Woman loved. She's the best thing about Dawn of Justice. But so my little rant about Man of Steel. Go ahead. Stop sharing. See if there was anybody commenting. Probably not. Wait, I did have. Oh, Miranda. Oh, thank you. Cyclops is listed next. Okay, it shouldn't penalize Cavill for bad writing and so on. Yes, exactly. The actor has said he wants to play more positive Superman mythos. Yeah, I'm all for that. We could do a positive Superman. We could do the animated series Superman. We could do Justice League Unlimited Superman. Yes, we could do that. Cyclops was a wuss in X3 and decent in Superman Returns. Cyclops. They bitched Cyclops out in all the X-Men films. Cyclops in X-Men 1, he gets his visor taken from him. He gets knocked out. He gets, his girlfriend's being hit on by, his wife or fiance being hit on by Wolverine. X2, he gets knocked out and then turned evil. X3, he dies in the beginning. He sucked in all 3 of those films. They bitched him out. I was like, oh, this is the Wolverine and X-Men movies. John Hamm as Batman. that would work as a good Batman. And he did one time. There, I think their talks like have him as Superman. If you're gonna do Superman, I'd want like a 1950s style. I'd want kind of period piece, but I know it's like little too late. But I think kind of interesting, like a 1950s golden, not golden age, silver age, like a silver age Superman. Maybe not with all the crazy power sets, or maybe just go full. You know what? Let's make it insane. Superman red, Superman blue, shooting out tiny Supermans from his fingers. Giant headed Superman, caveman Superman, lion head Superman. You know, just do it. You know what? Screw it. Just throw everything at it. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I had to get this load out of my system, thinking about it. Maybe I'll touch upon this again soon. I'll get some people on that disagree, that hate Man of Steel and love Superman Returns or something. But until next time, folks, thank you. Have a wonderful evening and see you around.